Perhaps you are young and promising. It's possible that you have already achieved staggering success, and the money you've earned will last a lifetime. However, there's a chance of failure, losing everything due to questionable investments, or simply getting fired. Whoever you are and whatever you do, your fiercest enemy already lives within you. It's important to note that we will be talking about the inner enemy, not in the sense Freud used it. For us, it's a matter of an inadequate belief in one's own uniqueness, significance, and importance. An internally capricious child who believes everyone owes them, a being whose interests are placed above everyone else's. This makes us believe in illusions, see and hear only what we want, and completely ignore the surrounding reality. The roots of almost all human problems are connected to this tag: the desire to have more, dissatisfaction with what already exists, and the approach to difficulties and obstacles in relationships with other people. But usually, people don't understand this. In their difficulties, they blame others, circumstances, fate, and the like. Today, I will provide you with 7 pieces of advice that will help tame our inner enemy, allowing us to always stay afloat. I wish everyone an enjoyable viewing. Let's start by being, not appearing. I'll quote Lao Tzu: "The one who knows does not speak. The one who speaks does not know." Modern culture encourages people to dream of great achievements. However, one of the obvious problems of our time is that most people talk too much and do too little. Social media only exacerbate this tendency. People direct their energy to seem like someone they want to be and create the appearance of activity. This happens not only to make an impression on others, but above all, to convince themselves that they are doing something meaningful. People create a sense of activity, and often writers, having signed a contract with a publishing house, start doing anything but writing a book. They post photos of their workspace on social media, look for an artist for the cover, and choose a venue for the presentation of their future bestseller. Writing, like any other job, is a demanding task that requires concentration and discipline. It's much easier to talk about writing a book than actually doing it. Recently, a book titled "Working on My Skill" for aspiring writers was released. Many of them seem to engage in anything but writing. A friend of mine recently told me that she spent a whole hour allocated for a workout, with a whopping 50 minutes dedicated to capturing a flashy story to show all her followers what a great athlete she is. There is no benefit from such workouts. Furthermore, I'll tell you that it deceives you. No one is interested in seeing in their feed every day how you work out. Show real results. You need to be, not just appear. The voice of a generation, as it's often referred to, doesn't call itself that. In reality, if you think about it, you'll realize how little such voices say. They quietly work in the background, too busy with their work to talk about it on Twitter. Charles Darwin spent decades working on his theory of evolution. Few knew the great work he was doing because he didn't have time to talk about it. The only connection between work and talk is that one kills the other. While people admire each other's grand plans, you silently go to the laboratory, gym, or library. I really liked how Ryan Holiday expressed it. Shut the hole in the middle of your face that can drain your life force. See what happens. See how much better you'll become. Stop pretending and take the first step to always remain a student. Epictetus said, "If you want to learn, be ready to consider yourself a fool and ignoramus." It's challenging for us to admit that someone is better than us or that we are not as good as we would like. However, how can we learn something without recognizing the limitations of our own knowledge? Confucius also said, "True knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance." Recognizing that our skills and knowledge need refinement and evaluating ourselves impartially is a difficult task, but it is the main component of any development. In the early 80s, the guitarist, prior to his Mastertonic era, was ousted from the legendary band Metallica. In his stead, the members chose a young guitarist named Kirk Hammett, who, like many others, dreamt of becoming part of the emerging legend. Once accepted into the group, dreams swelled with assurance of chosenness and genius. What Kirk did next set him on the path to greatness. He took lessons from the virtuoso musician Joe Satriani to become even better, aspiring to master his craft. It is crucial to continually improve oneself, but what hinders this is the reluctance to acknowledge one's weaknesses, question one's mastery, subdue pride, and follow the teacher's guidance, like sirens singing a soothing song inevitably leading to the ship's wreckage. We perish the moment we allow our ego to claim we have nothing to learn. As Mark Aurelius said, before taking the position of a teacher, one must learn to take the position of a student. Interestingly, even as an emperor, Mark Aurelius regularly attended public lectures on Stoicism, causing general astonishment. Being a student is not just a phase, it's a lifelong position. Learn from everyone and everything, those you've defeated and those you've lost to, from people you dislike and even from enemies. At every stage, at every crossroads of life, there is an opportunity to learn. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Every man I meet is my superior in some way, and in that I learn from him." Just as our island of knowledge expands, so does the shore of our ignorance. John W. Gardner's quote holds true. In any situation, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing, and the worst thing you can do is nothing. Regardless of your achievements, always remain a student. Mastery is not a destination, it's a constant process of diligent self-improvement. Subdue your pride today. Nowadays, young people often disdain working in the service or hospitality industry. This is a typical situation throughout the ages. An embittered, underestimated genius or not so genius is compelled to carve their path in the world, doing what they dislike for those they respect. How dare they make me engage in such demeaning work? It's unjust, as food deserves more. A typical example is university graduates who rely on their parents because they believe that a job paying $20,000 is too demeaning for their exceptional intellect. When a person is about to embark on their first job, they are often advised to quietly do whatever they are told. Of course, this is not what a modern graduate would like to hear, especially one with a degree like an engineering diploma. They obtained this piece of paper precisely to avoid such humiliation. As you begin your journey, you can be confident in a few fundamental truths. Firstly, you are not as good or as important as you think you are. Secondly, your perception of the world needs adjustment. Thirdly, much of what you learned in university is either outdated, incorrect, or simply useless. There's one excellent way to address these three aspects. Start taking action. Surely you don't have such lofty goals that you can't compromise on something. The achiever radic knows that greatness emanates from humble beginnings. Whatever job you have to do it well, as greatness arises from modest undertakings. No job should be considered too small or shameful. Stop deceiving yourself. Achieving success when the outcome was uncertain often makes people want to say, "It couldn't have been any other way." But that would be an untruth. The truth is, I worked tirelessly, hoping it would work out. Of course, you knew nothing in advance. You simply didn't want to remember the time of doubt and self-uncertainty. This effect is called hindsight bias. People alter their viewpoint, projecting it onto their perception of the past. If an event occurred, the person overestimates the likelihood of their prediction in the past, and vice versa. People wonder how they could have doubted their success, forgetting that at the moment of decision, their prospects were very uncertain. Narrating such stories about oneself is a favorite pastime for the ego. However, constantly telling these stories makes it very easy to blur the line between truth and fiction, and to believe in one's own omnipotence. This is precisely what happened to Michael, a mastermind who initially led the Walt Disney Company to a resounding success, and then, under his leadership, it faced an equally staggering failure. The studio released numerous hits that brought incredible profits to the company. However, success so greatly went to his head that he believed anything he touched would be destined for success, ignoring all advice from competent individuals. When it came to the location of building a thematic park, the company suffered severe losses. Suddenly and inexplicably, he made the most foolish decision of his career. He fired Jeffrey Katzenberg, the producer behind iconic animations like The Lion King and Aladdin. Despite constant whispers that Katzenberg was far more talented than him, he thought, "He can take my place." Disney had to pay Katzenberg an astronomical compensation of $280 million in 2005. Eventually, Eisner himself was ousted from the company, and his career was shattered. When a talented and successful individual begins to believe in their genius or uniqueness, they expose themselves to significant dangers. Labels we use to identify ourselves, be it entrepreneur, gay, investor, writer, only divert us from what we should be doing. They make us believe in a self-narrative that we tell ourselves, leading to mistakenly assuming that the next level of success will be a natural consequence of the previous one. We forget the real reasons behind success: effort, hard work, persistence, and most importantly, the role of luck and the whims of fate. The element of luck is completely ignored in the writing of grandiose celebrity autobiographies. Passion and perseverance made me a great person, they say. However, passion and perseverance are also characteristic of failures. They just don't write books about their success. This is a typical example of the survivorship bias. The first to notice the survivorship bias were, naturally, the ancient Greeks. Leo Golovsky was a staunch atheist. Once, a friend took him to a temple and asked, "You think the gods neglect humans, but haven't you noticed how many plaques and inscriptions there are of people who, thanks to God, managed to avoid perishing during a storm and safely return home?" Diogor replied, "Sure, but there are no records of those whose ships sank and they perished. If you want your success to be long-lasting, it must be balanced with an adequate perception of your own abilities. Control your emotions." Booker Washington noted that the best results are achieved by those who can control themselves. These individuals remain undisturbed, never lose composure, and are always calm, cool-headed, patient, and polite. The path we pursue is somewhat shaped by the amount of madness we are willing to deal with and what we are willing to endure. It's not easy to maintain self-control when faced with difficulties and humiliations. Your game won't serve you in dealing with publishers, enemies, or someone with erratic behavior. Whether they understand something or you know something better doesn't matter. Your talent, connections, and money don't guarantee success if others don't take you seriously. They may show indifference or even sabotage you. Those who have subdued their ego realize that negative attitudes from others don't demean them, but rather reflect the dissatisfaction and weaknesses of others. We may encounter ignorance, disdain, abuse, and resistance, but it's important to maintain self-control, accept situations, endure, and not pay attention while continuing to work harder. Self-control is a complex but critically important skill. It's crucial to perceive obstacles correctly. The time of success can blind, and the time of failure can crush, but real strength is demonstrated by the ability to maintain balance in both situations. Did you know that the American writer Helen Keller, due to an early childhood illness, was both blind and deaf? However, this did not hinder her from leading an active political and social life and helping other people. Viktor Frankl, a globally renowned psychologist, endured the horrors of concentration camps, including Dachau and Auschwitz. Despite losing his entire family, he did not give up, but continued doing what he loved, creating logotherapy, and lived to be 92. Abraham Lincoln, plagued by severe depression throughout his life and facing near-suicidal moments, grew up in poverty, lost his mother and beloved woman, and experienced multiple defeats in his political career. However, this did not prevent him from becoming a legend. Most of us have never faced the horrors these individuals endured, yet often we panic, lose our minds, and complain about the unfairness of life over much less serious reasons. We often get stuck at minor obstacles or inconveniences, such as someone's criticism, traffic jams, or a malfunctioning internet connection. Fear, despair, anger, and frustration in the face of adversity are typical reactions, even to the slightest difficulties. Nobody promised us that life would be fair and smooth. We all have to deal with challenges. The choice lies in how we face them, with resilience, endurance, emotion control, and turning problems into opportunities, or by avoiding them and complaining about the world's unfairness. Strong people stand out by showing resilience, endurance, and emotional control. They do not give up in the face of problems. Instead, they make challenges a part of their journey. Change the criteria for success. Flavius Belisarius was a great Byzantine military commander during the reign of Emperor Justinian. Despite saving Western civilization in battles at least 3 times, he did not receive fame, admiration, monuments, holidays, or honors. Instead, he was constantly under suspicion by the emperor he served. Belisarius' victories and sacrifices as a dedicated military leader were nullified by foolish treaties and betrayal. To tarnish Belisarius' reputation, Justinian bribed people in his entourage to spread various rumors. He was removed from command, leaving only the humiliating title of the commander of the royal stable. Belisarius was stripped of his property, and according to legend, he was even blinded, forcing him to beg on the streets. Many historians express astonishment and outrage at how those in power treated this individual with ingratitude, foolishness, and injustice. However, he never complained or protested. In modern terms, he simply did his job well and followed what he believed was right, and that was enough for him. In life, there are times when we may do everything right, possibly even perfectly, and yet the results may be negative, failures, lack of recognition, jealousy, or complete disregard. Our reaction, depending on what motivates us, can be devastating. Recognition, followers, views, and likes may seem necessary for validation. But this person not only was unworthy of rewards for his deeds, but was also punished for them. If such a situation were to happen to us or someone we know, immediate outrage would likely ensue. But what was the alternative? To compromise on doing what is right? We face a similar dilemma when pursuing our own goals. Will we work diligently, even if our efforts might be taken away from us? Will we invest time and energy if the result is not guaranteed? With the right criteria for success, we can continue regardless of the outcome, faring much better by simply doing what needs to be done. The less attached we are to the result, the better. Alexander the Great once visited the famous philosopher Diogenes. Finding Diogenes basking in the sun, Alexander asked what he, the most powerful man in the world, could do for this mere mortal. Diogenes responded remarkably, "Step aside and do not block the sun." Even now, we can feel the impact this had on the self-esteem of a man who called himself great. Robert Louis Stevenson sadly remarked, "When you toil up the heights and reach the peaks, you discover that humanity is indifferent to all your achievements. Prepare for it to be so. Perhaps what you accomplish will not impress your parents, and your girlfriend won't care. The potential investor won't notice the figures, and the audience won't applaud. You must not let this be the only motivation. We will all face misunderstanding, lack of gratitude for a job well done, injustice, and condemnation. But depending on our values, this will either be a devastating blow to the ego or just another difficulty that makes us stronger. As Geode once said, it is important for an active person to do what is right, and whether what is needed will happen as a result should not concern them. For today, if you enjoyed the video, I earnestly request you to subscribe, like, and share your opinions in the comments. It greatly helps in promoting the channel and videos. Goodbye until our next meeting.